and what is relevant in the moment is the next ball.
Do you find that one of the most common mistakes is that they almost forget to focus on the very next ball that's in front of them? I know in your content I've watched you talk about 4Rs. Do you want to just cover that as well? And yeah, do you think, is that a fair statement I've just made as well?
Absolutely, except I would tweak it and say, I don't think they forget. I don't think they know how to focus on the next ball. I say to my athletes and in my talks and the people I sort of engage and coach and mentor is the greatest skill any athlete can possess is not a forward defense, not a cover drive, not a flick, a leg spinner, whatever the sport. I believe it's the ability to focus your attention on the present moment, because the present moment is where we can perform at our peak. It's where we can perform to the level that we've trained ourselves to. But so many athletes get distracted, and their distractions come in the form of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future, getting anxious about what could happen, or thinking about like things like in the batting sense, the scoreboard, who's watching, what your teammates are thinking, what the opposition have just said, what your average is, what happens if you get out. All these things are distractions, and they pull our attention away from what is relevant in the moment. And what is relevant in the moment is the next ball. So what working backwards from the idea that being able to focus your attention on the present moment is the number one skill for any athlete, I teach my athletes this process of 4Rs. I think that the best batters and the best cricketers, the best athletes, they're thoughtful. They don't just go, oh, see ball, hit ball. That's too simplistic. And that to be a good player in all conditions, in all circumstances, you have to think through situations. You have to bring your skills to every moment, and every moment is different. So you have to think through, how do I utilize what I've got to win this moment, to chase this score, to get through this spell of bowling, etc. So they're thoughtful. So the first R is post ball. As soon as the balls happen, is reflect. So I'll run through the 4Rs really quickly. Reflect, relax, reset, refocus. And the first R is reflect. So that's an opportunity to just reflect for a few seconds and learn from what's just happened. Okay, it's swinging away. I've got to watch my cover drive. I've got to make sure it's under my eyes. Oh, it's holding in the wicket. Probably can't drive again unless it's really under my eyes. Or I might need to like walk down the wicket, get some weight into the ball. They reflect, but they do it simply and quite quickly. A mistake that happen to many people is they reflect for too long and they start dwelling on the last ball. So as I said, they're facing up physically for the next ball, but their mind is in the past and they're worrying about what happened last ball. That's where mistakes happen. So reflection should only be a few seconds. It happens quite quickly. You store it in the back of your mind. Then you relax. And this is more for long format cricket, where you want to be able to bat for a long period of time. And if you want to be able to bat for a long period of time, you have to conserve your mental energy. I heard the analogy from the Cricket Australia sports psychologist that our brain is a limited resource. It's like a water tank. And if we turn on the tap at the bottom of the water tank drains. So it's our job to find ways to turn off the tap and keep our water tank as full as we can for as long as we can. And that to me is the relaxation part of batting. So I've played my shot, played and missed, hit it for four, whatever. I reflect, I then relax. And for me, it's walking away to square leg. It's looking in the distance, seeing what other games are going on, who's at the ground, letting my mind just wander, see if there's a plane in the sky. My mind can do whatever it wants. It's not taking my energy. Then I need to reset my body. And again, the mistake that happens from the relaxed is people might be thinking about a plane or what they're going to have for dinner that night, and they never switch back on. So then as I reset my body, I walk back towards the wicket. I start to think about the field and see if they've changed anything in the field. I go back to my reflection. I've fallen over last ball, so I remind myself I need to keep my head still. So my reset is resetting myself physically. I go through a little checklist of my grip, my feet, my head, and then the last thing I do is just push my head down the wicket to try and get in the position. So that's resetting my body, and it ties in a little bit with my reflection, reminding myself what had happened. And then the most important one is refocus. And as the bowler's sort of halfway through their run up for a seamer, it's only that last 4 seconds that I really need to focus. It's the milliseconds that the ball's delivered that I need to be fully focused, but I need to narrow my focus in that moment. So I might have been thinking about my head or my shoulder, but then bowler's running in and I have a cue word, I say something, and I encourage my athletes to say whatever it is that switches them on. So for me, I used to say game on, and that was a trigger. And then I would say, win this ball, win this ball, win this ball. And for me, that would give me a clear mind. I'm focused on the ball and just reacting to the ball. But if I wasn't saying anything, I might have a blank mind, and then I might have a thought come in, hit him over the top, like get him, or like take him on, or don't get out, or something that a thought would come in, it would distract me. And that's when I would make mistakes. So whenever I was very clear, it would be one thought, and it would be about the ball and reacting to the ball. And often when I was I'd get out and I'd walk off, I'd be thinking, I didn't switch on that ball. I didn't remind myself. I didn't go through my trigger and my process of focusing. So for me, that's the 4 R's. And I think they can be done anywhere against any opposition. If it's against a spinner, you relax for less because there's less time in between balls. If it's a T20 and you're only batting for 20 balls, you probably don't need to relax. You can think more about the game. Like, I need this run rate. This bowler's still got this to bowl. And you can use your energy because you're not batting for so long. So I hope that's given you a bit of an insight, but quite a long answer there.
What would you say when one of your athletes comes to you and says, it's not only in the moment, but before I go to bed the night before, even when you're just about to walk out, that fear of getting out, you just can't get over that feeling. It's almost stifling their game, their technique. What would you say if a player came to you and said, Coach, I'm just fearful of getting out and it's impacting my game?
I would start by saying, awesome, that's really normal. That shows you care. I would try and normalize it as the first thing and say, you're not strange, you're not unique in this feeling. It's everyone who cares. We're trying to perform well and we're judged on our results. We want to do well. That's normal. But I would try and remind them that it's just a game. It's just a game. And if you get out, yeah, you'll be disappointed, but life will go on. And to me, a big part of this it would depend on how much time I have with that athlete as well, because a big part of this sits about our identity as an athlete. And if we're identifying ourselves and we're giving our value as a human being by whatever score we get, well, then our whole identity is determined by that result. And we're going to be tense and anxious and fearful. To me, the best athletes, they are comfortable in themselves as human beings. They're very hungry. They're very driven. They're very determined to be the best they can be. But they are also at peace with the fact they will fail. They will get low scores, and that is okay. And that peace releases the fear. They say, look, I know I'm going to get out today, but I'm going to give it my best. And that, if you've got that mindset, you're going to play with a lot less fear of getting out than, oh my God, I have to do well today. I need to do well. It's my life depends. And a lot of people approach their sport and their cricket, their batting in this sense, with this thought that I have to do well. My life depends on this result. It's the most important thing in the world. And yes, our cricket is important. We care about it. We put so much time and energy into it. But for me, if this is a theme in a player, I would say, let's identify who you are as a human. Let's see what makes you you. It might be that you like your PS2, you like time with your family, you like going to the beach, you like long walks. All these other layers that make us us. If you can identify all of them and say, look, I'm someone who plays cricket. I'm not just a cricketer. My whole life doesn't depend on this result. Well, that allows you to remember that when you do make a mistake and you don't get a low score, you get a low score, you don't get the result you want. Well, that's okay. Life goes on. So for me, it's that process of like trying to make it not such a big deal and say, yes, I know you want to do well. You do care. But this innings isn't going to change your life, whether you get 100 or a duck. And try and release the importance, which is what we're so scared of, failing and the negative outcome. But I try and take the importance off the outcome and just say, do your best.